Live with CDP Sports Talk, a weekly sports and entertainment podcast sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet. Live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn. And on audio via Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, Anchor FM, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Radio Public, and TuneIn. Now, here's your host, Chris Palme.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Season 7, Episode 41, Overall 371 of Live with CDP Sports Talk, sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out barrycullen.com for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, or give them a call at 519-824-0210, or you can email them at info@barrycullen.com. As always, Live with CDP Sports Talk is on weeknights from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern on radio station WQEE 99.1 FM in Noonan, Georgia, the home of Southern talk and sports. I hope everyone's doing well on this Wednesday, February 21st, 2024, and I'm looking forward to my guest today. It's his first time on Live with CDP Sports Talk. He's a former professional football player with Denver in 2010, and then in the CFL with Winnipeg and Hamilton, and he's now the head performance coach for the Hamilton Tiger Cats and a personal trainer with Eat, Sleep, and Peak. His name is Marcellus Bowman, and we're going to bring him on right now from the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Good morning, Marcellus.
Good morning, Chris. How you doing, man?
Good. How are you?
I can't complain. Life is good.
Hey, thank you so much for giving me a little bit of time out of your busy schedule to come on today.
No doubt. My pleasure.
Are you getting excited for training camp, which is less than 3 months away?
Oh, always, man. We just sent out an email, or I sent out an email talking about we're halfway through or past halfway through the off season. And, we're getting to that point where, hey, we got to start earning our checks for real. So, it's an awesome part of the off season because you can feel it's starting to pick back up a little bit. It's awesome.
I was going to say now, for a professional athlete, it's changed since the 70s and 80s. There really isn't an off season anymore. Even when you're not playing games, even in the so-called off season, you guys the athletes have to stay in shape, and that's part of your role as the Hamilton Tiger Cats.
That's correct. And what's interesting is the closest thing to off is probably the first 4 weeks, 2 to 4 weeks after the season, where I do instruct the guys to sit down. You've been through a lot. Your body, your brain, your mind, your heart, your soul, your emotions been through a lot throughout the course of the season, and I do think it's necessary for the guys to relax for 2 to 4 weeks. And then after that, it's time to get right back to it. So, like you said, it's not a long off season in a sense where guys are just, out living a whole different life. You have to get back in football mode and get better mode pretty quickly, or, somebody else will, and, they'll take your spot.
How often do you contact the guys and see how they're doing in the off season?
Depending on the guy. So if a guy for example, has some injury issues, or, they have a different goal, maybe they're playing a different position and going from, an interior D lineman to, exterior, and they want to have some more help with the nutrition side of things because their body needs to be different for that new position, I'll contact them more often. Some guys actually don't contact too often, but most of the team I contact around, 1 to 2 times a month when I'm updating their program. So every 4 weeks, I update their programs based off the previous 4 weeks' performance. And that's how we keep in touch.
It's been a busy off season for the Hamilton Tiger Cats, Marcellus, and
Yes.
I wanted to ask you this question before we get into some other questions. Just thoughts on the retirement of number 21, Simone Lawrence, and his impact on the Hamilton Tiger Cats and the city of Hamilton for the last 11 years.
It's one of those things where I'm not surprised, right? I remember, so my first year with Hamilton was his first year with Hamilton. And I remember early in training camp, you're meeting everyone for the first time, and some people stand out, and some people you never think about again. They don't really stand out, right? And he was one of the ones that stood out. And one thing I noticed about him is on day one, his enthusiasm and his energy. Like, he was, of course, a great athlete. That was, you're not going to be on a team if you're not. But his enthusiasm and his the way he attacked day one in training camp was like, okay, this is not gonna be sustainable. Like nobody can be that enthusiastic every day. And then in the middle of training camp, he was the same way. Then week 4, week 8, week 12, week 16, he was the same way. And I was like, this guy is different. To attack football like that every single day the same. And then 10 years later, when I come back to Hamilton as now the head strength coach, he was the same way. And that tells me like it's deeper than just, he wants to be great. Like he needs to be great. And I'm not surprised. I think today is Simone Lawrence Day or something like that, right? The 21st. And he deserves everything he gets because he's a special guy.
I remember that 13 Cats team because I live in Guelph, so you guys spent that whole year
That's
here at
right.
Nice Stadium in Guelph, and you guys had a tremendous season and a run to the Grey Cup. Unfortunately, falling short to Saskatchewan.
That's correct. Yep. That's correct.
As an American, Marcellus. Oh, I think we lost Marcellus. Hopefully, Marcellus. Okay, he's back. Just one second.
Mhm.
Hey, you're back. Marcellus, I wanted to ask you this. As an American, how much of an adjustment was it coming from the States and playing 4 down football to the Canadian Football League in 3 downs?
You know what? When it comes to the actual playing the game, it wasn't too big of an adjustment. The hardest thing, as far as the transition from playing in the States to playing in Canada, was the pre-snap. Just because it's way more emotion, there's much more fluidity on the offense as far as what you're able to do prior to the snap. Once the ball is snapped, then it's football again. So, we're just trying to understand where your eyes need to be and what you're thinking before the snap, and then after the snap, you're playing football. The hardest thing to do for me, and then what I'm noticing for a lot of the other guys as well, is understanding how to prepare your body for the game, because this is your first time being a professional. And in college, someone's telling you what to do all the time. From the moment you wake up to the moment you go to sleep, you are told what to do. As a professional, a lot of that is on you. We have help, of course. We got strength coaches, the athletic therapists, so on and so forth. But as far as like what to eat, how much to eat, when to rest, when to grow, when to go, how to train, so on and so forth, how to train as a rookie versus how to train as a 5-year vet, how to train before and after injury, how to train as a second string player to a starter, all these different things. A lot of times you don't know until after the fact. So, if I were to give advice to any young guy, is to try to crack that code as early as possible. What do you physically need to do, right, or habitually need to do to put the best version of yourself on the field on a regular basis? And the ones who crack that code early enough can play at a high level for a long time, and the ones that don't will suffer injury and unfortunately not really be the best version of themselves.
So you're from Youngstown, Ohio. Growing up there, were you an Ohio State Buckeyes fan?
Oh, 100%. I went to the Ohio State camps and everything every year. Yeah, in my head, I was going to Ohio State until they didn't offer me until late in the recruiting process, and I didn't want to go to a team who didn't want me initially. So, but yeah, I was definitely an Ohio State fan back in the day.
So it must be tough. I'm a Michigan Wolverines fan, so it must have been
Mhm.
tough seeing Michigan win their first national championship
Yeah.
since 1997 this year.
Yeah, it was less than ideal. I mean, being from Ohio, between wanting the Buckeyes to win and then seeing the Browns finally have a competitive team, and then not perform at a high level in the playoffs, is less than ideal. But I'm still riding high off of LeBron's championships almost 10 years ago from in basketball. So
That's
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 gonna wear
hard to
off soon.
that's hard to believe. Hey, just quick thoughts on CJ Stroud and his adjustment from college football to the NFL so quickly.
Yeah, that's special because there's a lot of guys that come in with his physical talent. Not to say he's not special physically, but like a lot of guys come with a strong arm, mobile, big, whatever the case is. But to mentally be able to crack the code on a defense, on an NFL defense, that just goes to show one, he's a talented, smart guy, but two, his preparation is beyond his experience as a football player. And that was special. Now, here's the thing that's interesting. There's been a lot of rookies who set the NFL or the CFL on fire, and then once your name is out there, all the vets look at you and like, okay, let's see what he does well. Let's find where the chinks in the armor is. So what I'll be more excited to see is, can he repeat that? Because that's the sign of a great one. Is once they know what you're good at and what you're not good at, can you continually adapt and evolve and improve yourself as a football player to remain at that level?
Do you find for most football players and athletes in pro sports, a year two is huge because teams will have more footage of you after year one?
100%, 100%. I mean, the first year, a lot of times for most athletes, the first year you're getting it off of just athleticism. Your body's young, you're explosive, you're in your prime, the beginning of your prime athletically. So a lot of that production is a result of athleticism. But if you don't make the mental leap, because as a professional, you don't go from a weak player to a strong player. You're basically the same player athletically, and the goal is just to hold on to the athleticism. So in order for you to improve and be just as effective, you have to make that mental leap, and understand where your weaknesses are, and then try to improve them, see what your tendencies are, and try to change it. Because if you don't, then once again, they'll catch up, and then you won't be nearly as effective.
Okay. You went to Boston College, and that was where Doug Flutie and Matt Ryan went. What was
Mhm.
that experience like being at Boston College and being a safety there as well, Marcellus?
Oh, it was great. I was lucky to be there at a very special time in Boston College's football history, because we were ranked. We got as high as this ranked number two in the nation for a few weeks. I played with a lot of first round picks. I played, of course, like you said, Matt Ryan. I played with B.J. Raji. I played with Luke Kuechly. So I played with a lot of high level, borderline legendary Hall of Fame level players. And to see what they were like at that point, and see what it really looks like to be great, it was one of those things where it really helped me as a football player, as a guy that want to be just as great as they are. So, I was in a really special time. Unfortunately, we haven't been as much of a football. I won't say powerhouse, but we haven't been as good as we were when I was there and when Matt Ryan, Luke Kuechly was there. But my experience there was, I wouldn't trade that for anything in the world.
Who was your coaching staff down there, and how much did they help you as a player and as a human being, as a person?
I had three different coaches actually. Tom O'Brien was the one who was there initially. He was a Navy guy. He was a man of few words. I think I've had two conversations with him. One was in the elevator. No, one was when I committed and I shook his hand. He said, "Good decision." The second was in the elevator where we were stuck in the elevator and we had to actually, converse. Outside of that, he he didn't say much, but he taught me consistency. He was an extremely consistent and disciplined coach. And then my next coach was Jeff Jakuzinski, and he was a little bit more energetic, a little bit more personable, and he taught me how to take it to the next level. And then finally, my third coach was Frank Spaziani. He's a D coordinator that graduated to the head coach position, and I just had a lot of experience working with him, and he helped me learn how to really be disciplined on the field. When I was younger, I was not disciplined. Right, I was just trying to be a better athlete than everyone else, but he taught me with a very short leash what I needed to do to be great, and I'm definitely thankful for that.
Did you have any dealings with Doug Flutie being at Boston College at all? And also, did you have a number that you wore there as well? I know in the CFL it was with 38.
Correct. Yeah, CFO was 38. When I was in college, it was number 8. And yeah, Doug would come back fairly often because his nephew Billy Flutie was on our team at the time, and Billy was he was a special athlete too. Not so much measurably as far as like run, jump, and sprint, but like in his skill set where he can play receiver, he can play quarterback, and he can punt. And he was just one of those special guys, similar to how Doug punted, or kicked field goals, kickoffs, whatever the case is, and played a quarterback. But either way, Doug would come back every once in a while and play basketball with us, and he was legit at that age. Like he was out there actually competing. So the whole bloodline is a special group of people.
And I know he started out in the NFL, but I think coming to the CFL really reinvented his career. And I
Oh,
just
100%.
and to me, he's still one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. And
Hmm.
yeah, when I think of Boston College, even to this day, I know I think of Matt Ryan, but I still think of Doug Flutie and that Hail Murray play in 1984. But he just had a
Yeah.
tremendous football career. Has he had shown any signs of he wanting to get into coaching at all?
Not that I know. It was funny. I was just talking to Bo about it last week. How I think it was in Calgary, and then Doug actually came to their facility one day, and then he walked up in front of the in front of the all the quarterbacks, and basically drew the read for the quarterbacks for the play they have written on the board. And the thing that's crazy about that is he hasn't played football in a very long time, and the offenses and the way football is played has changed. It's evolved, and it's improved. And for him to be able to get on the board and be able to speak football that fluently after not being in it for such a long time, that's impressive. Because I know for me, if I had to get in front of the linebackers and start to talk about reads, it wouldn't be as easy being 10 years removed from that. So, I haven't heard anything as far as him actually expressing interest, but I do think he could do it.
Was there a story behind your number at Boston College and in the CFL?
The reason I picked 8 at Boston College because in high school I was number 4, and my goal was to be twice as good as I was in high school. And then when with a 38 in a CFL, um, a few different things. Number one, I had 38 when I was with the Broncos, and I failed. And I was like, I want to make that number not fail. Number one, and number two, my name is Marcellus Bowman III, and once again, I had a lot of success when I was number 8 in college. So I just kind of combined that to make 38.
What was your experience like with the Denver Broncos?
Horrible. It was one of the worst football experiences of my life, and the reason why, because when I got drafted or not drafted, when I signed a free agency, that was the year that Tim Tebow, Demaryius Thomas, and those guys were there. It was that draft class, and the reason why I say it was horrible is because by the time I got there, my body was broken down. I was beat to pieces. I suffered it was a lot of overuse injuries, just because I've always had an insane work ethic, but at the time I didn't know um, how to train in a smart way. I just knew how to train hard, and as a result, I got big and strong. But as far as how my body felt was not good. It was just a lot of wear and tear. So by the time I got to the Broncos, I wasn't necessarily competing against the other players for a roster spot. I was almost fighting myself, just trying to get through a practice without showing, how bad I was broken down. So that's what I mean by it was horrible. It was a great experience in the sense where being around and being in a professional setting, down in the States and knowing what it's like to be in the in the NFL. But it's one of those things where I look back and I was like, man, if I'd have did a few things differently, that I'd have had a different experience there.
Have you ever thought about writing a book about your experience and how about young athletes train smarter and not harder necessarily?
It's absolutely amazing that you asked that question, Chris, because I am working on a book right now with that exact um, premise. And, I don't want to get into too many details,
Okay.
but I have the core of the book done. I'm just kind of just pairing a few of the graphics and a few of the studies to validate my philosophy, my perspective. But, my part, as far as like my story, is going to be a very small portion of that book because what I want athletes to get out of that book is what do they need to do to become the 1%, the upper, like the 1% of athletes playing this game, how to be the greats. And it's going to be an amazing book because most of the performance books that you look for and that you find are written in coach speak, right? They're written for us who are certified and understand those terms. The sagittal plane and the frontal plane, the dorsey and plantar flex. And you talk to an average athlete, they don't care about those terms. Like, coach, what do you want me to do? And that's how I'm going to write the book. I'm going to write it in a way to where athletes can digest it and immediately put it into practice. So I'm extremely excited about it. My goal is to get it done ideally by mid-year. Yeah, I'll keep you posted, but I'm excited about it.
Congratulations, and I will check out your book as well. One thing,
Awesome.
Marcellus, I wanted to ask you as well, with your Denver experience too, your mindset and how important is your mindset and having a strong support system as an athlete? Because as an athlete, it's like any other career, you're going to have your successes, but you're going to
Mm.
have your setbacks. And how difficult was that? And did you have a lot of support? And how did you come about coming up to the CFL back in 2010 with Winnipeg?
Yeah, so first with the mindset, I'm not good at quitting. Now, the thing is, I don't want to do a whole lot of different things. I'm a pretty consistent guy. I only need a few things to be happy. But the things I do, I'm really locked in on it. So, you know, it wasn't one of those things, even through the frustration, I never considered quitting or not doing. I was just desperate to find a way how to correct and fix, the issue so I can do what I wanted to do. So, but overall, like my mindset was one that, I just wasn't going to quit. It just wasn't an option. This opportunity is too rare for me to even consider it. So that was actually the easy part as far as maintaining a positive or at least a motivated mindset. But I'm sorry, what was your second question when it came to the CFL?
How did you end up coming up to the CFL, and how much did you
Oh yeah,
know of that league before you came up here to Winnipeg in 2010?
yeah. So didn't outside of what Doug Flutie did. And we actually had a few Canadian players on our team in college, as far as a recruiter from Canada. So I had some idea, but not a whole lot. But what happened was when I got cut from the Broncos, I remember, I pulled into the home and I opened the mail and I saw a note from the Denver Broncos, and I opened it up, read it in the car, and it was like, "Thank you for your effort, but unfortunately, we're going to go in a different direction." So, got fired for the first time in my life through mail, and then I thought my career was over, And then my agent called and said, "Hey, some team in the CFL in Winnipeg saw your tape on YouTube, and they want some more game tape. Should I send it to them?" I'm like, "Yes, yeah, send it to them as soon as possible. Whatever they need, send it to them." And he sent them the rest of the game tape. I guess they liked what they saw, and that was up there a couple weeks later. So it was a pretty quick transition. Not a lot of time to even heal from, how beat up I was from the previous, bouts of football with college, pro day prep, and then the Broncos. But at that point, It didn't matter to me. I had another opportunity, another great opportunity, and I was going to attack it.
You remember your first CFL game was Winnipeg?
Um, Man, I don't remember. I remember the first preseason game because when I first got to Winnipeg, I first was a Sam position. Sam is like kind of a hybrid between linebacker and defensive back, and it wasn't going well. So I was like, "Man, this is not a going. Like this is bad again." And then when the vets got there, I survived the rookie cuts. When the vets got there, they moved me to linebacker. So I remember going into the linebacker trailer where we had our meetings, and I looked at the depth chart, and I was like fifth at will. I was like, the starter, and then there was me down here in my position. And I'm thinking, oh man, this is not good. But one thing I noticed that the linebacker coach, Coach Crehan, Casey Crehan, what he kept saying was, he would have the clicker, and he was, looking at the film, and he was like, okay, right here, I want you guys to strike. I want you guys to strike. And I was like, oh, I can strike. Like if there's anything that I can do well, it was strike. And I could tell he was a disciplined guy as far as what he wanted out of a play. He wanted discipline and violence. And that was me. Like that was my two strengths. So, made it from fifth string, fourth string, will linebacker to by the time we got to our first um, preseason game, I was starting. And I remember I was on kickoff and I was like, I got to make an impact. So, first kickoff, I'm running down the field. And in my head, I'm thinking, if I can't make the tackle, I'm going to just find somebody to blow up. And I found the biggest guy and I blew him up, like blew him to pieces. Ran off the field. Next kickoff, running down there. I'm looking for him again. He's not there. And it's a clear pass to the kick returner. Blew him up too. And I think that's what kind of cemented my spot on the team because I had a skill set that I think they knew they could use.
What was your most memorable moment or game with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers?
Definitely the Banjo Bowl game, 2010. When I had the biggest hit of my career. And if anybody watches this, type in Banjo Bowl Marcellus Bowman, and you will see a pretty decent hit. It was on, they call him the Canuck Truck. I forgot what his real name was, but long story short, what's the Darian Durant was the quarterback at the time, I want to say. And he threw the ball, and I got like a 15-yard head start and unloaded on the guy. Legal hit, but unloaded on the guy and blew him up. And that's what like really put me on the map as far as the type of player I was in the CFL.
Overall, how was your experience with the Blue Bombers, and how did you end up coming to the Hamilton Tiger Cats? And I believe Ken Austin was with the Cats when you came over there in what 2013.
That's right. Yeah. So loved every moment of being with the Blue Bombers. We had great seasons. We had bad seasons. But I loved every moment. I decided to live in Winnipeg in the off season. So a lot of love still for Winnipeg. I have a lot of really close friends that I almost consider family there. That I do consider family there in Winnipeg. But yeah, it was a beautiful experience. But there's the emotional side of football and there's the business side. And essentially, the decision I made was a business decision. to come to Hamilton. And I'm glad I did because at that moment, we went to 2 straight Grey Cups. Unfortunately, we didn't win, but we had a lot of success. And I got to meet Coach O and Kent and Coach Reinbold and the things that I learned from them, both in football, but even outside of that, is just invaluable. So I'm super thankful. And I think it was a God thing as far as what brought me here. Because if I didn't come here then, I wouldn't be here right now.
How did the team like playing their home games at the University of Guelph for that year?
Oh man, I that year was such a blur because obviously we didn't have a traditional locker room. So we were traveling to practice, whether it was at MAC, whether it was at uh, Guelph or some other stadium. Sometimes it was at the stadium, just wasn't ready yet. And then the games was at Guelph. I just remember focus on just get ready. Wherever we play, I don't care. Just get physically ready for the game. So honestly, I couldn't even answer that question because I was just focused on, what I had to do.
And just thoughts on Henry Burris, who was the quarterback at the time,
Yeah.
C.J. Gable, and Luke Tesker. He was your teammate as well, and I believe he had his first CFL touchdown September 28th, 2013 against Calgary at the Alumni Stadium. Luke Tasker, the son of Steve Tasker.
That's right. So, yeah, with Henry, the smile is legit. Like he's always like that. He's competitive, and that's the thing that's surprising. He smiles a lot, but there's another side of Henry Burris where he's a real competitor. He doesn't like to lose. He loves to win. So that was great to see. C.J. Gable was he had the best balance that I've ever seen out of a running back. Some guys are fast, some guys are shifty, some guys are just strong. But his balance was unnatural. It was supernatural, I should say. So I enjoyed playing with him. I played against him in college my last year, and I had a really good game against him. So I make fun of him about that. But they beat us, so I guess he has the upper edge there. But either way, yeah, he was a great player, awesome to be around. And then Luke was a guy where when you first see Luke, you think good person. You don't necessarily think amazing football player, but he was special, and he was a professional that's an example for a lot of other younger guys about how to approach the game and how to do it the right way. So you could tell he learned a lot from his dad because he had a certain confidence and a natural ability that far surpassed his measurables.
High football IQ like his dad.
Correct. Correct.
Absolutely. And he does a great job with RJ Broadhead on the
Yeah.
Tiger Cats audio network as well. In your time in Hamilton, thoughts on wearing that black and gold uniform and the fan base in Hamilton?
Oh, I love it. And growing up in Youngstown, Ohio, kind of blue collar. So when I came here and saw a similar vibe, it was awesome. But the fans, the energy, the vibe that you get in Hamilton, it's put you in a certain mode, right? It's different than like when we travel to BC. It's like, oh, this is beautiful and this is fun. It's like so on and so forth. When we come to Hamilton, it's like, hey, let's get to business. So it's an awesome energy to be around. It also matches how I like to approach the game. Like I like to approach it with kind of a blue collar perspective. So I know it fits me very well.
This next question I wanted to ask you, Marcellus. How difficult was it to step away from football as a player and an athlete and transitioning into your new career as a coach eventually and a certified personal trainer and coach as well?
You know what? It was. I'll put it this way. I'm trying to be as concise as possible. After my rookie year in Winnipeg, one of my best friends, he broke his neck twice in college. He's fine now, but he broke his neck twice in college. And he said, "Hey, man, the first year out is tough. Figure out what you love and start to do that now before it's too late." And that's when I decided to get certified as a personal trainer. So I basically personal trained every off season throughout my playing career, and that definitely helped with the transition because it still was a very tough year. Um, it's really hard to identify yourself and your circle, your friends, your family are all like a lot of times, centered around football. And all of a sudden, that's not there anymore. And then now you have to almost reinvent yourself um, to be successful in the second chapter professionally of your life. And that's not easy to do, especially in my case where, my career ended because of injury. And then as I started to research why my career ended with these injuries, I quickly found that it didn't have to be the case. I didn't have to suffer all these injuries, and they were preventable or either reversible. And that's when I decided I can't let this happen to somebody else. Like if someone else is going to fail, it has to be because they just weren't good enough. But to fail because you didn't know what you were doing or how to prepare your body as a disservice to you and your family and who you could potentially be. So I essentially dedicated the rest of my life professionally to making sure I find the answers for the athletes that need it the most. Because I know if I would have found me with the answers that I have now, I would have been indebted to that guy. Not that I want anyone indebted to me, but I just want to have that impact because this professional sport life is fleeting. It's hard to attain. It's even harder to hold on to. And when you get a chance to really maximize your potential, it's rare, but it's a beautiful situation. I just want to help other people do that.
And one thing I was looking about your bio too is how important education is as well, being a student athlete, obviously at Boston College, but
Mhm.
also thinking about your future after the game. And Marcellus, I wanted to ask you this. How did you end up getting the role with the Hamilton Tiger Cats as a head strengths and conditioning coach? And what was your first year like with the team?
Yeah. So what happened? I was down in Orlando, Florida. I was coaching with UCF, University of Central Florida, and Spencer Zimmerman came down, and he was recruiting. He was looking at a few guys, and we literally just walked into each other. Like he didn't know I was there. I didn't know he was there. We walked into each other, and it was like, "Oh, what's going on?" So we shook hands and we caught up, and then he left me his card and everything like that. And I think that's what planted the seed. That was in 2019, and then 2000 end of 2022 is when I got a message from Coach O. And as soon as I saw his name pop up on my phone, heart started beating. Like, oh my goodness, is this going to be the next attempt at correcting, what I thought was a career that could have went longer. Um, and he called and he was like, "Hey man, yeah, we basically got a position for the strength coach position, and are you interested?" And I was extremely interested, but I had to check with the wifey first because I had a wife and 3 kids, so I can't just make the decisions to move the family out of America to Canada. But yeah, he hit me up, and things worked out. We figured out all the details, and then signed my name on a dotted line. I was back up here.
Hey, Marcellus, do you have another 5 minutes for a few more questions?
Yeah, I got time. Yep.
Okay. Thoughts on the off season so far, and how excited are you about this 2024 team with free agency and some of the changes to the coaching staff as well?
I mean, I'm always excited. Number one, because Coach O is still in the organization, right? And he, once again, everyone says great things about Coach O. And the crazy thing is they're all true. No one is exaggerating. So, that's what I'm really happy about. Having played against Scott Mlanovich, and then now having worked with him on the coaching side and seeing how he does things, how he runs things, I'm extremely excited about what he's going to bring to our team, to our offense, and in the way he leads, so on and so forth. So, from a coaching staff perspective, and just like top level, Ed Hervey and what he's done and his perspective. Thankfully, I was able to have a decent amount of conversations with him throughout training camp and periodically throughout the year. So I'm extremely excited and have a lot of confidence in the entire front office. And then now with who we've re-signed and then also who we went out and got, I think we made a lot of the right decisions. I told him early, I don't necessarily want to be involved in these decisions. Once the players are signed, send them to me. I'll do my part. That's where I succeed. But based on what has happened so far, I'm extremely excited. So I think we have a lot of the pieces we need to get to where we're trying to go.
Yeah, I'm a lifelong Argonaut fan and also CFL fan, and you picked up some really good guys from Toronto as well. And
Yes,
I really think the CFL Easter Division this year, with Montreal being the Grey Cup champs, you guys
yeah.
have improved. Toronto is going to be solid, and I believe Ottawa is going to be really competitive as well. It's going to be really difficult to win the East this year.
Oh, 100%. We will have to be outside of course the actual talent that you need on your team, like the level of professionalism and maturity that you need out of a team to make it out of the east is going to be at its highest requirement. So I'm excited to be a part of that because that's what I emphasize for athletes is how to be a professional. And we're going to need that because like you just said, there's no weak links in the east right now. The west is the west. I don't really concern myself too much about that, but the east, you're gonna have to bring your lunch to work every day.
Okay. And then finally, can you just tell us about Eat Sleep Peak as a founder and head coach, and how satisfying is it helping people lose weight and become healthier in the process?
Yeah, so Eat Sleep Peak, like I mentioned earlier, started personal training after my rookie year, and I just found a love for it. Just being able to impact people's lives in a very profound way when it comes to actually making them healthier, and their families. It's been awesome. But initially, Eat Sleep Peak 10 years ago was called 4 Habit Fitness, and then it evolved into Eat Sleep Peak. And the reason why I call it Eat Sleep Peak is because I found that as an athlete, for myself, and then as a coach, and for those that I've worked with, for the other greats that I've studied, and even for my general population clients, the soccer moms, the grandfathers, the uncles, the aunts, those who are coming out of surgery, so on and so forth, whatever demographic, the ones who ate, slept, appropriately, and then trained specific to their goal were the ones that got transformative results. To the point where, for example, if someone is super disciplined nutritionally and never missed a workout, but they're not well rested, eventually they're going to fail. Right. So you need all three of these consistently to really get to where you're trying to go and sustain it. So, it's a philosophy that I developed because it's been able to help any person, no matter what their goal is, right? Whether it's an athlete or a youth athlete or a person who's looking to lose 10 pounds, it's a philosophy that's potent because it works in harmony with the way that God designed us.
And I'm in the process of losing weight. I need to lose 30 pounds. I want to do it because I want to feel better and be healthier. But one thing
Awesome.
I agree with Marcellus is sleep. Sleep affects your weight, and it also affects your mental health as well.
Oh, 1,000%. That's one of the things that I think is most underrated about the entire process. There's a big debate on which diet is the best, or how do you train? Is to be low and slow cardio, or high intensity cardio. But we're missing the sleep portion, where if you're tired, if you're not well rested, your perception of pain increases, which means you're not going to push yourself hard enough. If you're not well rested, your cravings are going to skyrocket, right? Like hormonally, your cravings will go crazy. So it's one of those things where if you ever want to speed up the process, if you ever want to make the process sustainable, and if you want to make it easier, it's going to be difficult, but if you want to make it difficult, but if you want to make it easier, you have to be well rested. That unlocks anything you want to do. But if you're tired, you can still muscle your way through it, but it's going to be a lot more difficult. And that's the last thing we need to do.
That's something I'm working on, by the way. Hey, before we wrap this up, what's the best way for my audience watching this or listening to contact you with Eat, Sleep, and Peak?
Yes, so they can go to my website, eatsleeppeak.com, and you can fill out the contact form, or you can email me at eatsleeppeak@gmail.com, or you can actually find me on social media, for example, Instagram, where I'm most active, at Coach Boom. Which stands for three, Coach Boom, is the handle. And either one of those, I'm pretty quick. I'll probably respond to you in under 24 hours.
Okay. Is this all just for people that want to be athletes, or can anybody contact you on this?
Anybody. I work with all demographics: athletes, young athletes, professional athletes, and also those who are looking to gain, 15 pounds of muscle or lose 40, 50 pounds. Whatever your goal is, reach out. If I cannot help you, I will definitely point you in the direction you need to go. But, I've helped a lot of different types of people. So, it's been awesome.
How satisfying is it helping people?
It's one of the best feelings, because that's where we're all here. When we are all doing what God designed us to do and maximizing our natural abilities, it inherently benefits someone else. When I do what I'm supposed to do, then someone else wins. When someone does what they're supposed to do, I win. And it's the way things are supposed to be.
Because for me, I've lost weight before, Marcellus, but the hard
Mhm.
thing is keeping it off and then going back into bad habits again.
Exactly. And the thing about it is, like I said earlier, perfection is never required. So, you know, one thing about weight loss is people focus so much on a fat loss process and what they need to do to lose the weight, and focus very little on what they need to do to maintain that loss. So a lot of or one of the ways that I program for people is that we try to lose weight, fairly aggressively, so that we get to our goal weight, and then spend time learning how to maintain that. Because once you learn how to maintain it, then life is good. But, for example, if you stretch out the fat loss process for too long, by the time you get to your goal, you're mentally and physically exhausted. And then to have to maintain the level of discipline when you're mentally and physically exhausted is not sustainable. So I'd rather get you there faster. And then once we get there, you still have enough motivation to learn what it takes to go ahead and maintain, that new body. So, yeah, there's a lot of nuances to it, a lot of different ways to do it, but that's how I do it.
Okay, Marcellus, we're going to wrap this up. What's one quick fun fact about yourself? And again, as Marcellus, I want to say thank you so much for coming on my show today and giving us a little bit of your time and talking about your football days and with Eat, Sleep, and Peak, and of course the Hamilton Tiger Cats.
No, I appreciate you having me. Fun fact. Oh man, I don't. My nickname is Boomacat, and it's a long story, but it comes from basically the style of play and the way that I played on the field.
Okay. Well, hey, Marcellus, I want to say thank you so much for coming on here. I want to say continued success as the head strength and conditioning coach with the Hamilton Tiger Cats with Eat, Sleep, and Peak. And I might eventually contact you because, like I said, I could probably use some help with nutrition and becoming a healthier person. And I was going to say you have an open invite to come back on my show again in the future. And I want to wish you continued success and good luck this year with the 2024 Hamilton Tiger Cats. And I'm excited for the CFL starting up in May.
Most definitely. Chris, I appreciate you, man. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much, Marcellus.
All right. See you.
You too. All right, guys, that was season 7, episode 41 of Live with CDP Sports Talk today with my guest, Marcellus Bowman, the head strengths and conditioning coach for the Canadian Football League's Hamilton Tiger Cats, as well as the owner and founder of Eat, Sleep, and Peak. And I have the website right there, EatSleepPeak.com, and you can contact Marcellus Bowman through his website again, EatSleepPeak.com. And I'm really looking forward to the CFL coming up in May as well. And the Hamilton Tiger Cats website is tigercats.ca. If you're looking for information about the team or tickets this year, check out tigercats.ca. I talk a little fast sometimes, so tigercats.ca. Or if you're interested in the Canadian Football League website, check out the CFL.ca. And I'm excited to be doing some work again for the CFL this year and also the Toronto Argonauts. And the best rivalry in the Canadian Football League to me is the Toronto Argonauts and the Hamilton Tiger Cats. And I think the rivalry is going to be amped up a little bit this year with the additions of Dwayne Henry and Jamal Peters and Brandon Barlow from the Toronto Argonauts. And also the Tiger Cats brought in new linebackers coach, former Argonaut Michael Fletcher as well. And Scott Milinovich is the former Argonauts head coach. And Ed Harvey is their new GM. And Orlando Steinauer is now the president of football operations for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Before we wrap up this show, guys, Hamilton Tiger Cats just lost one of their best players to retirement. He was in the CFL for 12 years, 1 year with the Edmonton Elks, and 11 years with the Tiger Cats. And I'm going to play a little video clip of number 21 linebacker Simone Lawrence, who just announced his retirement recently. And I'm just going to show you a little clip courtesy from the Hamilton Tiger Cats YouTube channel.
Simone Lawrence. From the moment he donned our colors, he embodied the essence of what it means to be a true Tiger Cat. Fierce, resilient, and relentlessly determined. Simone is a pillar of strength, inspiring us all with his boundless energy and indomitable spirit. On the field, Simone's presence is nothing short of electric. His tenacity and skill command respect, striking fear into the hearts of opponents while rallying our team to victory. Whether delivering bone-crushing tackles, securing crucial interceptions, or leading our defense with unmatched intensity, Simone consistently demonstrates the epitome of excellence in every facet of the game. Yet, it is not merely his athletic prowess that sets Simone. Off the field, he embodies the true essence of leadership, serving as a mentor, friend, and role model to his fellow teammates. His infectious enthusiasm and unwavering dedication to his craft inspire us all to strive for greatness, both on and off the grid.
Oh, this is what happens when you come to Hamilton.
Today, we are reminded of the profound impact he has had on our team, our community, and the sport we hold dear. His tireless work ethic, boundless passion, and unwavering commitment to excellence serve as a beacon of inspiration for all of us, challenging us to push beyond our limits and reach for the stars. Here's to you, Simone Lawrence, a true legend of the game, a beloved member of our community, and a shining example of what it means to be a Hamilton Tiger Cat. Thank you for everything.
That clip was courtesy of the Hamilton Tiger Cats of the CFL's YouTube channel as well. And Hamilton came off an 8-10 season in 2023 and East semifinal loss to Montreal. But with the new additions to the coaching staff, Scott Milinovich, Ed Harvey, Orlando going to president, and bringing in Michael Fletcher and Mark Washington back as a defensive coordinator, and the additions of Dwayne Hendricks, Jamal Peters, Brandon Barlow, and re-signing Terry Garwin, wide receiver, and Tim White to a 2-year contract. I expect the Hamilton Tiger Cats to be one of the better football clubs in the Canadian Football League this year. And as I was mentioning with Marcellus Bowman, I think the East has gotten stronger. I think Hamilton is stronger. I believe Montreal is the defending Grey Cup champs. They're going to be strong. Ottawa, I believe, is going to be improved with Drew Brown as their quarterback. And the Toronto Argonauts are still going to be a solid team, even with some of their losses. So I'm really pumped up for the Canadian Football League to come back in May training camp, and check out the CFL's website at cfl.ca or the Toronto Argonauts website, argonauts.ca. And I just love being a part of the CFL as a media member and also as a season ticket holder for the Toronto Argonauts as well at BMO Field. So, all right, guys, we're going to wrap up this show. But my next Live with CDP talk show, sponsored by Barry Collins Chevrolet, to be announced. I am working on more guests for next week, and I will hopefully have some more announcements coming up soon as well. So next Live with CDP Sports Talk to be announced very soon as well. And also, I want to say thank you to the BPE Speakers Bureau for giving me an opportunity on Thursday, March 7th, to speak to some grade 10 high school students in Kitchener, Ontario, about careers and finding their passion. And I want to say thank you to Jennifer for giving me that opportunity. And I'm excited about that. I never thought when I was in school I would be a public speaker or be in front of a camera or have my own radio show. I've kind of reinvented myself over the years as well. Also, guys, this weekend I will be at the KeyBank Center in downtown Buffalo for Saturday night National Lacrosse League action between the Albany Firewolves and the Buffalo Bandits, who are 5-4, coming off a tough 14-12 loss to Halifax last Friday night on the road there after the Bandits had an 8-2 lead, and unfortunately they couldn't hang on and they lost 14-12 to Halifax. So this is a huge game for Albany and also a huge game for the National Lacrosse League defending champion Buffalo Bandits, who are now 5-4, and they need this win desperately. So I will be there as a media member, thanks to the Buffalo Bandits and Ryan Slabowski. And I'm looking forward to being there. And I will be doing some coaches and player interviews and a game night story as well. National Hockey League action. My Detroit Red Wings come back and take on the Colorado Avalanche tomorrow night at Little Caesars Arena at 7 o'clock. And the Red Wings are coming off a 5-0 road win at Calgary on Saturday afternoon as well. Live with CDP Sports Talk, again, is a weekly sports and entertainment talk show hosted by yours truly, Chris Pame, is on weeknights from 8 p.m. Eastern to 9 p.m. Eastern on radio station WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key, the home of Southern sports and talk, the heartbeat of Atlanta. Our radio station's website is wqeefm.radio12345.com. Live with CDP Sports Talk is also live streamed on these platforms: YouTube, Facebook, Twitter /X, Twitch, LinkedIn, and now available on Instagram. Follow me there, Chris Pame, as well. My website is beacons.ai/Chris D. Pame. All my social media sites, all my digital media work, and my previous radio shows are on beacons.ai/Chris D. Pame. Live with CDP Sports Talk, again, is sponsored by Barry Collins Chevrolet Dealership at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out barrycollin.com for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, or give them a call at 824-0210, or email them at info@barrycullen.com. Speaking of Barry Cullen Chevrolet right now, there's a Discover Winter event going on at Barry Cullen Chevrolet, a 2024 Silverado 1500 RST, 0.99% financing for up to 60 months. More details at barrycullen.com. And also at Barry Cullen Chevrolet right now, with a new vehicle purchase, you can get a $140 instant rebate on winter tires on a set of 4 new Bridgestone BlazTech winter tires with a purchase, finance, or lease of an eligible 2022 to 2025 vehicle there as well. And speaking of Barry Cullen Chevrolet right now, if you buy a set of winter tires in stock at Barry Cullen Chevrolet right now, you can save up to 13% on winter tires there with in-stocked winter tires up until February 29th. So you've just got a little over another week before that deal expires as well. And again, check out barrycullen.com, their website, or drop by the dealership at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Also, guys, you can follow me on TikTok at Live with CDP. A lot of my content is on TikTok. I do my player coaches interviews and my media work through TikTok, which has been a great tool. So at Live with CDP, and give me a follow. And also, guys, if you want a personalized video from yours truly, I have joined the Cameo family. So just type in Chris Pame on Cameo and book your request for a personalized video message request today. Proceeds from Cameo will go to my radio show as well. StreamYard is the official live stream provider of Live with CDP Sports Talk. If you're into webinars or podcasting such as yours truly, check out StreamYard.com. They have basic free plans on there, as well as a plan that I have right now currently called the professional plan, which is $49 US a month. And if you're a business and do a lot of webinars or do a lot of live streaming, check out StreamYard.com and contact their sales department, and they can give you pricing for business plans for StreamYard.com as well. Live with CDP Sports Talk, the audio version is available on these platforms: iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, Spotify for podcasters, Apple Podcasts, Breaker, Pocket Casts, Radio Public, Spotify, Castbox, LinkedIn, Pandora, and TuneIn. Finally, you can email or text Live with CDP Sports Talk at cpame19@gmail.com, or you can text the show at 519-820-7188. Any comments, questions, feedback, positive, negative, would be greatly appreciated as well. And that's about it, guys. Again, I want to say thank you to my guest today, Marcellus Bowman, a former professional football player with the Denver Broncos, Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and the Hamilton Tiger Cats. And he's the current head strength and conditioning coach for the Hamilton Tiger Cats, and a personal trainer with Eat, Sleep, and Peak. And the website for the Hamilton Tiger Cats, where he's a coach with, is tigercats.ca. And if you want to check out Marcellus Bowman and maybe even contact him about fitness and nutrition, please see his business website at EatSleepPeak.com, and you can contact him there as well. And that's about it. Again, thank you to Marcellus Bowman for coming on. And guys, give me a few more days, and I will have some more guests announced for next week's Live with CDP Sports Talk as well. And I want to say thank you to everyone watching this today, live streamed on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter/X, and also on Instagram as well, thanks to StreamYard. And thank you to everyone watching this or listening to this on my audio platforms. And again, Live with CDP Sports Talk is on weeknights from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern on radio station WQEE 99.1 FM in Noonan, Georgia. I've been on there for 1 year now. And stay tuned. In the next few days, I'm going to have another announcement. And I think my show, Live with CDP Sports Talk, might be on some more radio stations in the future as well. But again, and I want to say thank you to Barry Cullen Chevrolet for sponsoring Live with CDP Sports Talk. I hope everybody has a great rest of the day, and we'll see you guys very soon for another edition of Live with CDP Sports Talk, brought to you by Barry Cullen Chevrolet here in Guelph, and again on WQEE 99.1 FM. Thank you to Marcellus Bowman from the Hamilton Tiger Cats and Eat Sleep Peak for coming on today, and we'll see you guys very soon for another edition of Live with CDP Sports Talk. Have a great day, everybody.